Senator Moreno.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for putting on this hearing. And, a father of 5, 3 grandkids. In fact, my daughter's visiting me today and last night in D.C. Normally, I get an alarm clock, but this morning I got a cute little 18-month-old face in front of me to wake me up. So to all of you, I can't even, you say that you can relate. I can't. I can't even imagine what you're going through, and we have to figure out a way forward. So let me just, I think it's important, though, that we look at where we were to understand what we need to do to go forward. So I think most Americans expect that when you get on a plane, you buy a car, you get on an elevator, you eat a meal, that there's a standard of care that that company used, and if they didn't use a standard of care, that you have a path to get some sort of compensation for the lack of effort. I think most of us kind of expect that. So when we say anything is safe, there's nothing that's 100% safe, impossible. But what's interesting about this industry is that the government has decided that this particular industry gets a free pass, that this particular industry doesn't have to be liable to anybody. And to our ranking member, I'm glad that you're interested in these things. I think that's fantastic. But President Biden or the auto pen extended immunity for these pharmaceutical companies for 5 years on the way out the door. How does that happen? On December 11th, 2024, with no public notice, snap of an auto pen, liability is extended through 2029. So you look at it, you go, well, how does all this happen? And I think we also have to recognize that there was a lot of people who, for example, I'm sure for you, Dr. Sullivan, for you, Dr. Hooker, for many of you, when you even said, hey, is this a problem? You were banned on social media. Well, okay, let's say that's not the worst thing that can happen to you in the world. But then the Biden administration then took it further and said, you can't go to work and make a living because your employer must either force you to be vaccinated, force you to reveal your public medical information, or you're unable to provide for your family. That's a very different thing, and yet complete silence. And so if we're going to go forward, I think we have to acknowledge where we were in the past, because what happened during those years was something that this country's never seen, a slide towards a government that's supposed to derive its power from the consent of the governed, was terminating people, working with social media companies that says, if Ms. Tommy, if you put this post on, you can put a post that says, I think Senator Moreno's tie is ugly. Totally fine. This was the FBI knocks on your door. You're deleted from social media. The White House was bringing tech companies to the White House saying, hey, we're going to work together to squash any dissent. This goes far beyond an informed decision that a parent has to make. It's tough, by the way. I tell my kids this all the time, my 2 daughters that have kids, being a mom or dad is hard. You have to make decisions for another human being. But where's the relationship with the government saying this is what you will do? And if you don't do these things, there's going to be severe consequences. So I'm all for going forward, but there has to be humility of looking backwards over the period of time in COVID and realize that our government did real damage to real people, from closing schools to forced vaccinations to the shunning, public shaming of people. So to my Democrat colleagues, I get it. I was a private citizen up until 6 months ago. But what motivated me to come here to Washington, D.C. to serve this country was because our government lost its ever-living mind over the last 4 or 5 years. So on a go-forward basis, there's some obvious things. Why don't we treat the pharmaceutical industry like any other business? You make a car that kills somebody, you're liable. Now, by the way, as a former car dealer, driving a car safe, okay? But will a car have an accident? Of course. Flying is the safest thing you can do. But are there accidents? Of course. But why are we exempting certain industries? And of course, then you start thinking, well, what's the money that goes into it? When you go to make a decision for your child, is a doctor actually being a fair arbiter? Or are they thinking, hey, there's a pharmaceutical rep that's going to pay me based on how many vaccines I prescribed, how many prescriptions I fill? That's a whole different world. And we've seen it not just on vaccines, but, in the family that controlled Purdue Pharma, they're on a beach somewhere, and they're billionaires. And they left tens of thousands of people in my state, in Ohio, dead. Where's the justice for those people? So if we're going to do this, Mr. Chairman, to our ranking member, we need to get serious about understanding that there's a lot of entanglements between special interest groups, lobbyists, with zero accountability. Because finding Purdue Pharma did nothing for the Sackler family. Sackler family are still living a great life. And the people who profited severely from the COVID-19 vaccine are living a great life. They're not sitting here like all of you having a different conversation. So if we're going to do something, the North Star has got to be medical freedom. I get to decide. I get to decide what's good for me and my family with proper information. And if I'm given improper information, just like in any other industry, there's got to be accountability. And these industries that produce bad behavior, the executives, the people who charge those people to do these bad things have got to feel personal repercussions. Because if that's not the guidepost in which we do this, then all we're going to do is have wasted these great people's time. So I'll end where I started. I'm hoping that, Chairman, what comes out of this is actual progress. Because when I hear your stories, it breaks my heart, and I know it's a life sentence for all of you. This isn't something where tomorrow you snap your fingers and your emotions leave you. It's going to be with you, and I can see the pain in each and every one of you. And I'm hoping my colleagues see that pain and that we actually move the ball forward to get something done. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.